Hello everyone, it's been a long time since I made a video, so I figured a good one would be to go over ETL tools and data ingestion into Snowflake, specifically cData versus FiveTran. They're both very great products, but they're also both designed to be completely different when it comes to billing. cData is very simple. As you see, they have two different options versus FiveTran has four. And I'm going to go over these in detail. So I'll start this off with FiveTran, which is much more complicated, and I'm going to start it off with them because that's what my company originally went with when we were first scoping out ETL tools. Now there were several we looked at. We ended up going with FiveTran because initially, for our needs, it was cheaper and it just seemed to be the best fit. And we eventually ended up needing to add more data sources, which still may have not been a problem. When it became a problem was whenever we wanted to add SQL servers. SQL servers in particular that we have no control over, ones that we can't enable change tracking, CDC, CT, anything like that. Therefore, FiveTran is replicating the entire data sets every time, which, no big deal. It's not causing any harm on the SQL side. On Snowflake, storage is fairly cheap. You just have your warehouse processing pricing, but I'm not going to go over Snowflake in particular. When this became a problem for us is we had a SQL server that had close to 180 million rows that was being replicated. So when we first turned this on, we noticed in about 3 days our general average monthly use already maxed out. We were using about $1,000 a month with Sage, Zoho, and I cannot think of the other one off the top of my head, but it was Sage and Zoho at minimum. And 3 days of having the SQL Server connectors on, we blew that budget. It was like $3,000, I believe, and it was replicating close to 180 million rows. So we had to find a different solution or different ETL, or some sort of solution to be able to bring our SQL data for servers we don't have any control over into our Snowflake environment. That was when we came across cData, which is connection based. There's no confusing MAR, which is believe stands for monthly active rows. But and when in our case, as I just mentioned, it was like 180 million rows. We weren't going to be able to do this because we would have went over it. But the way these connections work is every connection, whether it's a source or destination, is just considered a connection. So Snowflake is considered one, Sage is considered one, Zoho is considered one, PayHub is considered one, and HubSpot's considered one. So there's your five. We ended up going with this quote option, which essentially brings it down to I think it's like right around I think it's like right at $2,000 a connection, give or take. So you're like essentially getting closer to the same price, but you have to have a minimum of 10, I believe. So that's why we ended up going with this. And then obviously, in a company, you don't want to have multiple ETL tools if you don't need them. So we are converting everything over to cData from FiveTran. The problem we've had with that was only with Sage. We have found workarounds for it, but the Sage data has been kind of challenging to ingest, but everything else is pretty straightforward. And another benefit of cData is their logging and your ability to fine-tune control your jobs. You can control whether the tables go to, their naming scheme, whether they're uppercase, lowercase, whatever you want. It's and their customer service is spot on. Now I've never really had to use FiveTran's customer service, so I can't speak to that in particular. But yeah, but if you're just gonna have things like Zoho or non-replicating SQL servers, FiveTran is probably the way to go, especially if you only have 3 or 4 connections. It'd be much cheaper in that case, but in our case, we're gonna have more connections, and we want to eventually scale up. cData worked for us. Another amazing thing about cData is their built-in API connector. So essentially, anything with an API you can connect to easily. I believe you could still set up your own third-party connectors in FiveTran, but it wasn't straightforward, and in cData it is. Next, I will probably log into both of my instances. They're going to be highly redacted, as they are for my workplace, but we're going to dive in and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Now, this isn't a setup video, so I'm not going to demonstrate how to set up the connectors, but I will say the setup process was pretty straightforward for both of them. So right there, they're on par with each other. Billing, this is when it became a problem for us. As you can see here, that if I scroll down, you see this 1 month whenever it was almost triple what it is every other month. That was whenever we turned on SQL servers for just 3 days. It was 3 days and it consumed that much. And you see we turned SQL servers back off and we're back down again. So we would have blew through our, I think it was 12,000 in less than a month if we would have kept them on. So that's when cData came into play. So with cData, as I said before, it's very connection based. So you connect to each SQL server, they all count as one connection. Snowflake counts as a connection, and another awesome feature about cData is its reverse ETL capabilities. Now what I mean by that is not just storing stuff from Sage into Snowflake, you can also push stuff from Snowflake into Sage. I mean, to me that's pretty cool. That means any data source that you have, not any, but most data sources that you have, you can do it both ways. And what I meant by being able to control things at the job level is, we'll go here to tasks, and you'll see that I can customize just about everything. I can control where things go to. I can check things off, and yes, you can check things off in FiveTran, but I like that I can also transform things here straightforward and simple. There are advanced options for replication and incremental replication. Another thing that FiveTran does not offer is this deletion behavior. You have the ability to hard delete things in Snowflake. Now for things like Zoho, this is awesome, but for things like Sage, you'd still want the soft delete. And in FiveTran, we'll go here and we'll go look. I guess I should back up. Connections and destinations are treated differently here. You can have as many as you want either way, but again, it's usage based. So Snowflake is a destination and Zoho is a connection. And we'll go in here and I'll just show you what I mean by that. There's not much customization you can do. You can check things off and check things and uncheck things off, but that's really about it. And as far as logging goes, there is none. There's none. There's no useful information you can get from that. But this pretty much concludes this video. Today, they're both great products. The key differences are billing and the way they both handle them. With cData, it's very straightforward. It's semi-unlimited up to for your basic package, and then it's unlimited and unlimited for your enterprise package. Or FiveTran's had several different types of billing, and if you're just doing small connectors like Zoho or even Sage, FiveTran's the way to go. And if you only have one or two, that's the way to do it. But with cData, if you have any sort of large-scale replication or you want to be able to see logging or do fine-tuned transformations or third-party APIs that are not included in their catalogs, then cData is the way to go. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.